You know that feeling? When everything on the outside seems perfectly fine, but on the inside there's just this quiet, nagging emptiness? It's something so many of us feel but can't really put a name to. Well, today, we're going to dive into a story that explores exactly that.
So, let's meet Mariam. Picture this, it's late at night. She's finally put her phone down after hours of endless scrolling. The house is completely silent, but that silence, it doesn't bring any peace. Instead, it just feels heavy, like it's making that empty space inside her feel even bigger.
And this is the question that's just looping in her head. And I bet it's a question that sounds familiar to a lot of us. I mean, her life isn't a mess. She's got her family, friends, a routine. From the outside, everything looks totally normal. But still, there's this feeling that something really important is missing, and it just won't go away.
See, this feeling of emptiness, it isn't some loud, dramatic crisis. It's something way quieter, something that kind of sneaks up on you. And to really get Mariam's story, we first have to understand what this quiet emptiness is all about.
And here's what it actually looks like day to day. It's when you laugh, but the feeling doesn't quite reach your soul. It's staying busy all day long, but ending it feeling completely unfulfilled. It's lying down to rest, but your mind just won't find peace. It's just this strange, constant heaviness in your chest. And what's really important to get is that you can't just slap a label on this feeling. It's not quite the sharp pain of sadness, and it's not the buzzing energy of anxiety. Really, the only word for it is emptiness, just a lack of something essential.
And this is the trap she fell into. Her first instinct was to fight that quiet feeling with more noise, more scrolling, more videos, anything to be distracted. But the weird thing was, the more she did that, the bigger the emptiness felt in the quiet moments that came after. It was this vicious cycle that was only making things worse.
So clearly, something had to give. But the turning point for her wasn't some huge, life-altering event. Nope. Like it so often is, it was something small, something quiet, something almost forgotten. It was really as simple as that. One day, she's cleaning her room, and she finds her copy of the Qur'an sitting on a shelf covered in a thin layer of dust. And that dust, it's almost a symbol, isn't it? It represents a connection that had just been sitting there, neglected for a long, long time.
As she's holding it, this question just pops into her head. When was the last time I actually opened this? And she honestly can't remember. Maybe for a bit during Ramadan, a few lines here and there, but not with any real purpose. And that moment of realization, that's where her journey really starts.
So she decides to open it. But what happens next isn't some sudden magical fix. It's a slow, gradual process. And it's in this slow healing where we find the most important lessons.
And this part is so important. Her first try, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't powerful, her voice was a little shaky, her mind wandered, and when she closed the book, the world hadn't magically changed. It's such a good reminder that the first step doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen. And yet, something did shift. That empty feeling was definitely still there, but its weight, it felt a little lighter, just a tiny bit. And that small, subtle feeling of relief, that was all the motivation she needed to come back to it the next day. That one small shift was the start of a whole new journey, one built on just showing up. First, it was just about coming back the next day, trying to find that quiet relief again. Then, that simple act became a real commitment, a promise to herself that she wouldn't let it gather dust again. And finally, the biggest shift of all happened when she went from just reading the words to actually trying to understand them. And that's when everything changed. When she started reading the translation, the words suddenly jumped off the page. It wasn't just sounds anymore, it was a conversation. Verses about patience hit differently when she was feeling overwhelmed. Verses about hope spoke directly to her when she felt lost. It became personal.
And this brings us right to the core of what she discovered on her journey. That emptiness she was feeling, it wasn't because her life was lacking things, but because her heart was lacking nourishment. She finally found what her heart had been starving for, a deep, real connection. The kind that temporary fixes, like binge-watching a show or scrolling social media, just can't provide. Sure, those things can occupy your mind for a bit, but they can't nourish your soul.
So what does this nourishment actually do? Well, as she kept at it, this connection started to calm her racing thoughts. It began to soften a heart that had gotten a little hard. It gave meaning to her struggles and gently reminded her that there was a bigger purpose. It was literally changing her from the inside out.
And maybe the most profound thing she realized was this. The healing wasn't just for that emptiness she could feel. It was going deeper,
touching these old wounds she didn't even know were there, and quietly mending parts of her that had been hurting in silence for years.
Mariam's story is such a beautiful reminder that sometimes the quietest moments can lead to the biggest breakthroughs. And it leaves all of us with a question to think about. In our own lives, which are so full of noise, what is truly nourishing our hearts? What's giving us that deep, real connection that nothing else can?